Welcome to the Human 5.0 Project, the podcast where we cut straight to the breakthroughs that matter, the show where science meets self-optimization. I'm your host, Ultimate Biohacker 10X, and here we break down the real research, real data, and real dosing behind modern biohacking, from compounds and peptides to techniques, devices, lifestyle strategies, and performance protocols. Most people jump in and jump out before they get the gold, so we're keeping it tight and delivering the essential insights you need without the fluff. If you've taken the time to hit play, we'll make sure you walk away with valuable knowledge that can transform your approach to longevity, health optimization, and beyond. In this deep dive episode, we explore Vilon, one of the original Cavachon bioregulatory peptides isolated from the thymus. We unpack its epigenetic mechanisms, immune normalizing effects, anti-senescence properties, and the exact research dosing protocols used in cell, animal, and early human studies. Perfect for researchers and advanced biohackers interested in thymic regeneration and health span extension. Welcome back to the Human 5.0 Project, the show where we go deep on the molecules that actually move the needle in human performance and longevity. Today we're talking about one of the smallest yet most fascinating peptides in the entire bioregulator family, Vilon. Just 2 amino acids, lysine and glutamic acid, but in preclinical research it punches way above its weight. It can reactivate silenced genes, rejuvenate aging immune cells, dial down inflammaging, and even push senescent cells back into the cell cycle. If you thought small equals weak, Vilon is here to prove you wrong. So, what is Vilon and where did it come from? Vilon, chemically known as L-lysyl L-glutamic acid, or simply KE, was isolated in the 1980s by Professor Vladimir Cavachon and his St. Petersburg team from thymic extracts. The thymus is that gland in your chest that trains T cells when you're young, but by age 50 it's mostly fat. That shrinkage, thymic involution, is one of the main reasons immunity tanks with age. Cavachon's hypothesis was simple. The thymus must produce tiny regulatory peptides that tell immune cells to stay youthful. Isolate those peptides, give them back, and maybe you can partially reduce immunosenescence. Vilon turned out to be the smallest active fragment they found, and it still works. So how does something so small do so much? Despite being only 275 Daltons, Vilon slips into cells and heads straight for the nucleus. Research shows it binds histone H1 and DNA grooves, loosening heterochromatin, the tightly packed silent zones that accumulate with age. The result? Genes for protein synthesis, DNA repair, and antioxidant enzymes that get switched back on. In aged human fibroblasts and lymphocytes, Vilon decondenses nucleolar organizer regions into more ribosomes and more protein synthesis. It upregulates pCNA, FOXO1, IGF1, SIRT1, SOD, and catalase. It downregulates P16, INK4A, P53, TNF-alpha, and IL-6. And it shifts the BCL-2 BAX ratio toward survival. In plain English, it makes old cells act biologically younger and keeps inflammation under control. The immune rejuvenation data everyone talks about. In elderly human lymphocyte cultures, Vilon restored blast transformation rates to levels seen in 20 to 30-year-olds. In thymic epithelial and thymocyte co-cultures, it dramatically increased maturation of CD4 and CD5 T cells, basically helping the thymus do its job again. In aged rodents, chronic low-dose Vilon normalized T cell counts, reducing chronic TNF-alpha and IL-6, and improved survival after immune challenge. Bottom line, it's one of the few compounds that can measurably reverse aspect of immunosenescence in preclinical models. So what are the research dosing protocols? Here are the exact protocols that appear again and again in the literature. These are for research purposes only, always sourced from reputable labs with certificate of authenticity. So the classic Cavachon rodent protocol, 0.01 to 0.1 microgram per kilogram body weight per day, usually 0.05 microgram per kilogram IM or subcutaneous. And that was given for 10 consecutive days and repeated every 4 to 6 months. This ultra-low dose is the one that produced epigenetic changes in immune restoration in rats and mice. Higher single-dose exploratory studies at 1 to 10 micrograms per kilogram single injection were used when looking at acute gene expression changes at 24 to 72 hours. Cell concentrations in vitro, most common 0.02 to 20 nanograms per milliliter. The sweet spot in many papers is 1 to 10 nanograms per milliliter for a 24 to 48 hour exposure. In the early Russian human observational studies, which were published in the late 90s into the early 2010s, a 10 to 20 microgram per day IM dose for 5 to 10 days was given. Sometimes a 5 microgram nasal spray was given twice a day, and cycles were repeated 1 to 2 times a year. These were used in elderly patients in post-radiation cohorts and showed improved T-cell parameters and reduced infection rates. Modern research, private clinic anecdotal protocol, basically what you see discussed online, would be 100 to 250 micrograms subcutaneous once a day for 10 to 20 days, followed by a 3 to 6 month layoff, and then repeat. Note, this is a 10 to 25 times higher dose than the classic Cavachon dose and lacks long-term safety data. Takeaway, the original science says less is more. The epigenetic effects appear at picogram to nanogram tissue levels. Higher doses may not add benefit and could theoretically desensitize pathways. Safety and current status, Vilon has an excellent safety profile in all published animal and early human data. No toxicity, even at 1,000 times the active dose. It is still strictly a research peptide. It is not FDA approved for any indication, and long-term human data beyond a few small Russian trials simply doesn't exist at this point. So there you have it, Vilon, 2 amino acids that remind your cells how to act young again. If you're a researcher or an advanced user exploring thymic regeneration stacks, this is one of the most evidence-backed, elegant tools in the bioregulator toolbox. Thanks for listening. Hit subscribe and make sure you get your research peptides from a reputable source like Peptide Sphere. Thanks for listening to the Human Upgrade Project. If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready to elevate their biology. Make sure to follow the show for weekly deep dives into peptides, protocols, devices, lifestyle strategies, and the science of high-performance longevity. Until next time, stay curious, stay optimized, and stay 10x